If you're a life insurance agent and you're listening right now, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you regularly ask internally, am I enough? And I want you to know that we all ask ourselves that same question in every endeavor in life. We are all asking that question, and it's not just you. The am I enough question is probably one of the biggest reasons why 92% of the people fail with their dreams inside of them, because they don't know if they're enough. They don't know if it's possible. They don't know if they can, and they have these limiting beliefs that hold them back. And if they just got around those right people who was allowed to unlock that just a little bit, they could make it. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. I am in studio today with none other than your co-host extraordinaire, Zachary McElwain.
I appreciate it.
Zach, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm just hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit.
There you go. Zachisms.
Yeah,
if you like Zachisms, comment below, hair in a biscuit.
Yeah, I might give you guys some more.
He might. We are jumping in today. For those of you who are joining us, maybe for the first time, or maybe you've been watching us for a little bit now. We just did a recent episode, Zach, with where Chris and I talked about 7 reasons why you shouldn't become a life insurance agent. We're trying to scare some people away, maybe a little tongue in cheek, but it's got a lot of good feedback. We had a lot of people reach out about it. But we do know that, in fact, once you get started in the life insurance business, there's it's not always easy sailing. You quoted me a statistic just now that mirrors the life insurance success rate statistic.
Yes.
Do you want to give me that statistic?
Yeah, let me see if I can remember it exactly. There was a study done from Harvard and Yale together in 1953 that said out of the 7.8 billion people in this world, that 92% of those people die with their dreams still inside of them. Meaning over 7 billion people are actually living in quiet desperation of not being able to make their dream a reality.
Unrealized dreams.
Unrealized dreams.
And there's a reason for that.
There's a definite reason for that.
There's a reason why most people don't actually get to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. Interestingly enough, that statistic is the same statistic of the people who fail out of the life insurance business. 92%.
It is exactly the same. And the interesting thing, Rogers, I recently did, currently in the coaching series that is actually finishing up this week on turning your dreams into reality. And just thinking back that, and one thing that's mirrored even for me and you as an entrepreneur moving into this insurance space is, man, when we're kids, we feel like we can accomplish anything.
Yeah, you do.
You want to be a fireman, you want to be a professional basketball player. Like, you feel like you can do anything in life. And what's the difference between now and then? The difference is our belief has been dampened a little bit. Our light has been let down. And that's because of obstacles. Those are obstacles, setbacks, different things, different influences that we've had in our lives that has kind of changed that focus or that belief for us. But there's still people, the people that are listening to this call, the people that enjoy and are joining in the insurance business, there's a little spark left inside of them that knows they're meant for more, that knows they want to do something other than clock in, clock out every day. And that's what excites us and fires us up to join this opportunity. But we can't forget that there are things, and even with that, why is it still only 8%?
It's a small number, but there's a lot of big reasons. And I don't know if everybody knows those reasons. I think one of the things that we're going to cover today is what are some of those biggest obstacles that you will face in life insurance sales. It's important that you know them, important that you know how to identify them and how to take action so that you can navigate them and become one of the 8% as opposed to one of the 92%. Zach, we were also talking before we went on air about the photos that I have of you on your first essentially your first day of
Yep.
presentation on your own. We
Yep.
were in kind of in southern Kentucky.
Yep, around Western Kentucky area.
Yeah, near Bowling Green,
Yep.
Kentucky, not too far from the Tennessee line. I have a photo of you on the front steps with a lady doing your very first presentation, which was, I've referred to it as awful before, and I'll say
it was pretty bad.
I'll say it again. And by the end of the day, when we had gotten in a couple more reps, you'd gotten into another full presentation, and we were sitting on the front porch. I remember exactly how the sun was. I remember where I was sitting, where you were sitting, and you were having a conversation. As soon as I mentioned it, you mentioned the name of your client.
Yeah, that was the first app I ever wrote. It was Sarah McHouston and her son, who was challenged a little bit.
Yeah.
I remember everything about that sit that day.
He was a wrestling fan, huh?
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing is going through. Obviously, it's hard to relax. My mindset is thinking like, what do I need to say? How do I need to do it? Like doing it perfect, doing it right. Internally shaking, on the outside shaking a little bit.
Zach asked me if it was a live photo. I said, I got photos. He goes, oh man, send me those. He goes, was it a live photo? Could you see my hand shaking? I said, I don't know if Apple or iPhone had live technology at that point.
It probably didn't. But I remember in that conversation, I was just like, I felt like I was reaching for something to connect with because it was so serious. And somehow we connected on wrestling. And that just happened to be.
Now, was it still WWF then?
WWE,
or was it WWE
WF,
then?
it was all of it. NWO. There was, that's all kind of
WWF
past.
became WWE, right?
It all
Didn't they have
that
to
was all
change
in the
their name?
past. But
Yeah.
he was the history of it, man. He lit up like a Christmas tree, and when that happened to him, the mom obviously did as well. And man, the guard went down. It got dark. We got invited inside of the house to the table, and it just became
Felt like we were there like 3 hours, but you wrote two apps.
Well, yeah, yep.
He wrote two apps. So that was your beginnings, right?
That was, yes.
And you had done drive-alongs and ride-alongs before, but that was you getting started for the first time.
Yep.
And after that, it was smooth sailing. You had no obstacles after that. Everything went perfect. You had no issues, no family issues.
Absolutely.
Your mindset was great. And, right, everyone's going to have the same experience.
That everyone is going to have the same experience, Roger. I do believe that. I think everybody's going to deal within their own mind the same level of garbage, but it may not have happened yet. It may have already happened, but there's always going to be more that is going to happen. And I think one of the biggest issues, when we're training and mentoring life insurance agents is I really want to prepare people for what is to come, not to scare them, just so they're aware and they're not caught by surprise, so where it derails them to the point where they're completely out of the business.
So if we had to break this down and put a framework around it, we're talking about the biggest obstacles that people are going to face in life sales, any type of sales, but specifically life insurance sales. What type of obstacles did you face?
Yeah.
And are they all the same? Do they come from different places? How would you describe the type of obstacles people are going to face?
They're very different. And for some of you guys listening to this, I would challenge you guys to start maybe thinking internally on some of the things that you're dealing with now. But initially, when we think about obstacles, we think about the most present things that are happening. And generally, those aren't really the obstacles. Those are kind of like the results of the stuff you're dealing with. Or the excuses, if you will, or the immediate challenges. But every single obstacle that we face, it's either going to be what we call an internal obstacle, or it's going to be an external obstacle. And
what do you mean by that?
There's a big difference in, is it something that is generated, and is that roadblock, is that setback, is it originally caused by us? Okay. Or is it truly caused by an outside force? And I'll give you an example. A quick external obstacle could be, I'm an agent, I'm sitting here and, oh, well, I haven't been home with my wife in a few days, and she's cooking my favorite meal tonight, and I better not get in trouble. I better go ahead and go now. Okay. That may be the apparent external obstacle, or, oh, well, or she has to, she has to go run somewhere and I need to be home to watch the baby for a minute and then I'll go back out later. That could be a good excuse or a reason why I can't have the activity, the focus, the mindset that I need to have to be successful. To the agent yourself, you're going to say something of this is what I need to do. Well, this is not my fault. It's this and that.
That's an external op. That's a challenge.
It could be an apparent one, but the trick is, it most likely there could be some sort of internal thing going on with you that maybe this is your out. Maybe that this is the easiest thing because you don't have to face a fear or an anxiety that you're feeling. So you're actively searching for something external to pull you away so you have an excuse for that.
So you're saying that there's two types of obstacles, internal and external, and oftentimes the external ones end up being a scapegoat for the internal obstacles.
What I'm saying is it very well could be.
Yeah.
And the important thing is, and what we want to take you on this journey today and talk about these different obstacles is for you to be able to identify, hey, there are two different ones, right? And where is the root cause of this setback?
Got it. So in thinking about internal obstacles, what type of internal things did you face? I'm going to personalize this.
Okay.
What type of internal obstacles did you face that you know that others are also going to go through?
Well, the cool thing is I faced all of them. And
I like how you said it was a cool thing.
It is. and I'll tell you this, because like if this isn't a discussion and ask people to raise their hand, what is the most internal obstacle people will face? They'll probably say the first one, which is self-doubt, right? And you will be surprised of who raises their hand in that.
Do most people want to acknowledge that?
Well, it's not if they want to or not. They know internally. You know, some people do acknowledge it. But when you're in a safe environment of vulnerability, if you're in your car listening to this, would you acknowledge it? Would you raise your hand if nobody could see and say, yes, I deal with that? That's probably one that people would admit to the most. But it's crazy to see that, you know, when I went through this in my training series, there was very highly successful people that have done millions of dollars in business and raised their hand. And this is the biggest one they struggle with even today. And that can be stemmed from a whole bunch of things.
It could be
to
childhood challenges
it's literally
trauma situations.
Your entire life of why or what environment or what you had to overcome of why you feel this way. But I promise, and by the end of the training, everybody agreed that they dealt with every single one of these. And I definitely dealt with self-doubt. I was very successful in basketball. I felt that I would put myself up there with anybody as far as like a mental toughness situation. But that doesn't matter. Like we deal with self-doubt. Every single one of us as insurance agents, if you're brand new now, or maybe you've been in the business 3 months or 3 years, there are still times that we feel that, hey, I'm the best on this planet. I feel like I can sell everybody that I can. But literally the very next week, I don't think I'll ever be able to sell a policy again in my life. Right? Like it's gone out of me. I don't know how to do it. Like
the wheels
I just
fall
lost
off.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an example of that.
Self-doubt. It's a big one. I mean, I've gone through that before, even when we were starting our company, starting our business, even in starting the podcast. I mean, how many times did we have a earlier iteration of what the podcast was? It started out as a training call for our own agents.
Yep.
And it turned into this crazy thing called Swaggy Sales.
Yep, that was interesting.
Which was a very interesting season. And then we had other people jumping in, and then our content started to take on some form. Then we had to, but we didn't know if it was going to work. We had no clue.
Yep.
We had no idea really even if there was an appetite for the content to be received in this way.
No.
But the one thing that we kept doing was just putting one foot in front of the other. But there was self-doubt along the way. I mean, I remember leaving my career as a partner in my other company, starting this, and my wife would come to me and she'd say, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Well, I'm sure there's a good opportunity here."
Right.
And so, yeah, we're going in this direction. And then when I wasn't talking to her, I'm like, "You better damn well be sure."
Right.
You know, like you can't hesitate when she asks you that question, because I need to be confident for her, my two girls.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I had a lot on the line. So there's the people who have self-doubt and the people who are willing to acknowledge they have self-doubt. What if they What if there's one of those people, they have self-doubt and they're not willing to acknowledge it? What happens when they're not acknowledging this self-doubt and they keep blaming it on external circumstances, like you said? Because you could doubt yourself and then you blame it on the fact, well, I can't go to work today because my car needs I need to get the oil changed and it needs to get serviced. So I'm not going to work today. Tomorrow I got to take the kids to the zoo for the afternoon parent thing. And then Thursday, well, that's the day I normally do admin.
Yeah.
So, like we can keep blaming, but it really comes down to this self-doubt one. What do people do when they're in that situation?
They usually quit.
They usually quit.
Like very, very quick. But it also depends on where it's coming from, because there are people, and as we go through these, one of the biggest interrupters of, I guess, identifying the internal obstacles is pride and ego. And it really comes down to, would you rather have a visual life for social media or Instagram and portraying a life you want people to think you have? Or do you want to let go some of that pride and ego to actually create the life that you want to have, regardless if anybody is watching or not? And that's a huge difference. If you choose option number 2, that you want the life that you want to have and you're willing to fight for it, regardless of who's watching or sees or who acknowledges it or who cheers you on, then you will not have a pride and ego interrupting you as an obstacle.
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. I think even like I'm thinking back to the beginnings of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. There was episodes, we had like 20 listeners.
Yeah.
20.
I think
20.
The cool thing is we literally have built this podcast if it could help one person sell one more policy.
Yeah.
That's all that mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. So self-doubt, one of the biggest internal obstacles. What's another one?
Then the other one's the one that I still deal with today, and it's probably the biggest one in my entire life.
It's the one that you said you never do.
I'd never do.
You said you never fail.
I promise you I never do.
Zach says, I don't fail.
It's fear of failure. Fear of failure.
Did you know, Adam, that he said that to Chris and I both?
Yeah.
Well, I don't fail at things.
And I believe it 100%. I do not.
Can't fail if you don't quit.
Thank you. For you all that didn't hear you. And that is always my thing. Fear of failure is the biggest gasoline and motivator for me in life. And it's not anything to do with me. It's to be able to provide for my kids, to be able to provide for my family, to be able to make my family proud, to be able to, my name mean something. And to not live up to that scares me to death. It scares me to death. But at the same time, when we talk about fear of failure being an internal obstacle, we're talking about, I don't want, the other side of that is, so the good side of that is I will run through a wall to do whatever I have to do. The bad side of that is if you deal with fear of failure, you're not going to start anything that you're not 100% sure you're going to be successful in. Mm-hmm. It is one of the biggest roadblocks you can have if you have fear of failure inside of you, because you never want to disappoint yourself, right? You never want to let those around you down. So you feel that, and I feel that all the time, that if I don't start it or if I don't commit to it, then I can't fail at it. So a lot of people in insurance, they'll train forever. They'll listen to every podcast 3 times, but they won't go knock on the door. They won't pick up a phone.
And when they do, it's very short-lived, and then another external situation pops up
because they don't want
to
face. They don't want to face the reality of, could be the work. It could be, it's the unknown result of how they will perform.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is we have to embrace that so that we can get better dialed in and pursue the dreams that we want to accomplish together.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. Fear of failure. I think for a lot of people, you have other people looking at you that are depending on you. Mm-hmm. And that external pressure to perform and to succeed with other eyes on you. So
Yes.
It is thinking about what other people think, but not just about what they think. These are generally people that you have value for in your life, and you don't want to let them down. And therefore, the fear of failure is there. And if it looks too big, you never get started.
And I'll tell you this. I don't know if I ever told you this, Roger, but
Uh-oh. We're getting an LA exclusive.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Get a photo of this, Adam, while he's telling you.
My
Don't
first
remember this
door knock
moment.
I ever did was because that week while I rode with you was, I believe, a Tuesday. We went down to Bowling Green a Monday night. We ended up getting there late, and this was our training. I rode with you that one day. We hit the trailer park. We ran our leads that late night. I believe it was a Tuesday night. The next day, I had 13 leads remaining, and I believe there was that included some CPOs.
This is when we were doing all face-to-face, by
All
the way.
face-to-face.
No telesales at that point.
My Wednesday morning door knock by myself going out there. I drove up in the driveway. I was praying they weren't home.
Praying they weren't home?
No. Because I didn't want to face the failure of not getting in the home, not doing a good job, right? But the other side of that, you need a forcing
This
function.
is the Zach that never fails.
I didn't, right? I think I ended up that day. I think I ended up writing 5,700 or something, and I didn't have any more leads, and I went home.
He was afraid. He was afraid
Yeah.
to knock on the door, and he wrote 5,700.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's like that fear of failure can prevent you from starting.
That's right.
But if you can get through that starting portion, that fear of failure will accelerate you and keep you going.
Well, and it quickly dissipates. As soon as you start having success, then you got fuel going in the other direction.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, I can do this. And it starts to
absolutely.
fire
So
you.
a symptom of that is if you feel anxiety at any moment, if you feel that phone is heavy, this is probably an internal obstacle that you're facing now.
That's right. So number 3, man, we're going to get through these internal obstacles: self-doubt, fear of failure. What's the third one for you?
Limiting belief, man. And this part is very difficult for some because this limiting belief comes from a lot of other factors. And it's really about these beliefs that you hold about yourself, even if they're not necessarily true. Sometimes you still think that you can't do it. This could be from maybe you currently right now, even at your age, even in your position, are the most successful in your family's generations, right? Like that was the case for me. When I've asked this question in a coaching setting, you wouldn't believe of how many people raise their hand that are already the most successful and looked up to person. Which is incredible that they're on this journey of opportunity. But that comes with something. Limiting beliefs comes from you don't really have an example to really look up to, or nobody's made it this far, so it's hard for you to craft your own path of belief or what's possible. You can only go off of really what you know or your close peers around you to borrow some of that belief. A quick life hack of that is to get around the right people that have
100%.
a different belief and different vision, so you can play off that and actually lift your head up and see to actually what's possible for you in your life. And that will help you.
Zach, you had written down here in our notes, limiting beliefs are beliefs that you hold about yourself or the world that may not be true, but still influence your actions and decisions. How do you know that they may not be true?
Simply because you're in this position for a reason. You have some belief, some vision, and other factors, other things in your life, like I said, kind of lower that light. You're built for more and capable for more, but that doesn't mean that your confidence and your mindset is 100% sharp at all points in time. So, just for example, let's say somebody was picked on in middle school. They're going to say you're slow. They're going to say you're fat. That way you're not good enough.
Or you picked last.
But you know you're good enough. You know you can compete, right? But sometimes that voice in your head can play over and over again, and it can shake some of your confidence.
Am I enough?
Exactly.
Am I enough? I think everybody has that. So if you're a life insurance agent and you're listening right now, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you regularly ask internally, am I enough? Am I enough? And I want you to know that we all ask ourselves that same question in every endeavor in life. We are all asking that question, and it's not just you. The am I enough question is probably one of the biggest reasons why 92% of the people fail with their dreams inside of them. Not just fail in life insurance sales, but fail with their dreams inside of them, die with their dreams inside of them, because they don't know if they're enough. They don't know if it's possible. They don't know if they can, and they have these limiting beliefs that hold them back. And if they just got around those right people who was allowed to unlock that just a little bit, they could make it. You have a thought?
Yeah, the thought of that is sometimes people don't feel worthy of the success they're already having or they're starting to have.
Or they won't acknowledge that it's there. The
Like,
success is actually
despite
happening.
of what they've been through, despite of what has happened in their past, they feel that I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of this.
It's going to come crashing down.
I'm not capable of achieving this type. I'm not built this way. Right?
I've seen some people even sabotage their success.
No.
They get off to a great start and they tell themselves, this is not sustainable. This is not real.
Yeah.
This is, I certainly didn't create this. This is going to come crashing down. And they literally verbalize and manifest the thing that they're afraid of the most because they believe it's not true because of a limiting belief.
It's a limiting belief. It's also a self-doubt, and it's also a fear of failure all wrapped into one. It's crazy, but it's true.
There's another one that we've identified here. It's probably one of the biggest ones that I see with new agents in getting started and taking action on anything. And it goes back to, I'm going to do that, the intention statement that we give ourselves, this idea that I'm going to do something that releases the dopamine. I'm going to be a great dad. I'm going to go on that vacation. I'm going to take my family here. I'm going to give to that cause.
Yep.
We give ourselves a dopamine hit, like, yeah, I feel really good about myself because I just told myself I'm going to work out today 3
strong.
times this week. But yet there's this word that pops up that holds us back. What is it, man?
Procrastination. Right? That is unbelievable. And in these next couple really are all relating to each other as well. But procrastination is, I know I should do it. I know I need to do it. I'm going to do it. I hope I'm going to do it. But somehow it's not important enough to get it done now. Procrastination. And again, a lot of these internal factors, you're not just going to have one. You're procrastinating for another reason.
You're procrastinating because you have self-doubt.
Right. That's
You're procrastinating because you have fear of failure.
Like these internal obstacles, they build on each other. As you can see, the way they progress, they're in order for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to deal with some of this internally to prevent other obstacles from happening.
Well, this is kind of a decision that you make based on one of the other fears, based on fear of failure or self-doubt or limiting belief.
But when you procrastinate, it also makes those other ones easy to make. And as we lead into our next one, a lack of self-discipline, it plays directly into that. And this could be, this one crushes agents. I would say it really, really crushes agents. Simply because you can have a brand new agent that, think about this. They grow up, their mom or dad's feeding them to keep them surviving. They're teaching them how to walk. They're balancing them. Every time they fall, they pick them up. They're telling them, don't do this, don't do that. This is hot, going through all of that.
Adam's going through all that right now with his little ones, by the way.
Going through middle school, going through high school, the teachers, the bus picks you up at this time. You go to school at this time. Here's your classes. Here's your schedules. Here's your homework. Here's summer break. You're always told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Your entire life. You go to college or you don't go to college. You get a job or a regular job. Like everything, we're conditioned our entire lives to wait for directions, listen,
to have
execute.
structures preset for us that we follow.
And we finally have something inside of us that breaks out and said, you can do this. You're built for this. This is your life. Take advantage of it. All of these things that's great about being an entrepreneur. But then we're waiting and listening for that voice to say, okay, now do your contracting. Okay, now turn it in really fast so you can get your writing numbers. Okay, let's start investing in leads. Like you become the boss of You Inc. and you struggle. New agents struggle because they go out and they sell a good amount, make more money in that short period of time than they ever have in their life. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how many days to take off. They don't know the ebbs and flows of the business or the mental ups and downs. And that lack of self-discipline just crushes agents, and it creates an unstableness mentally and all of those new emotions. And if agents don't have a good mentors or programs, or if they aren't self-aware of these things, it can really put them out quick.
Zach, there's one final one here, which is a really big one. We see it all the time. I am guilty of this myself, especially when I'm playing golf.
You do it very gentle when you play golf, though.
I just say my name a lot.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I just say my name a lot. I try not to cuss. I'm certainly not, throwing my clubs, but I am saying my name a lot.
Absolutely. This is negative self-talk. And I'm such a glass half full positive type of person. I'm very optimistic. I don't like negativity. It just drowns me, man. It makes me want to run out of the room so fast. When people complain, it's like the biggest pet peeve in the world for me. But that negative self-talk that I'm not worth it, or I'm terrible, or I'll never be like you, or you're different, or I can't sell like Roger, or even comparison, man. Comparison will crush you. In that negative self-talk, like you cannot let that creep in even for a second. Not with you. You can't let appear if you hear them negatively self-talking about themselves. That is an absolute crusher.
It's like poison, man.
Oh, it is.
When people are bitching about a circumstance, a situation, their external, obstacles, their internal obstacles, it pulls you into this vortex of despair. It does. You got to get away from those people.
Man, it crushes you.
Yeah, you may think, well, I'm going to go over and console them. Next thing, you're in their crap with them.
The thing is, the negative self-talk, like saying one thing, like, I'm not that good, or, this or that. Like
that always happens to me.
It's not a big deal.
People always cancel.
Like,
my appointments always cancel.
Exactly.
Life, it's not going to be successful. It's not going to sustain.
Exactly.
I always get the bad end of the stick.
It's not going to, it's really not going to do much in that exact moment. But it's one of them compiling things, and it takes over time, and it builds up,
effect,
and then you believe it.
So we got these 6 big internal obstacles going on. It's mostly mindset. Some of it's a result of the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Procrastination, negative self-talk is kind of a bleed out of the emotional things that you're dealing with, but it's language that you've internalized.
Yeah.
It's a decision that you're making internally, but there are some external things that are also obstacles that you're going to face as a life agent that may seem like they're out of your control. They may seem like it. Some of them may be in your control. Some of them may not be in your control.
Yeah.
But there's certainly external circumstances that have nothing to do with the way you feel, but they can impact the way you feel tremendously.
Right.
Or what you do. What are some of these?
Yeah, and we'll try to go through these a little bit quicker. One is logistical challenges, right? These could be legal regulations. These could be hurdles or different things you're overcoming. It could be as simple as, just give you an example. For some reason, you're in you're working with a company or a group, and you have a non-compete in an area for a couple years in whatever business you're in. Like that's a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a logistical issue. It's a logistical challenge. Let's say for one reason or another, you order leads, and your leads all come in a different state that you didn't work on, right? This is a challenge. These are things, obstacles we have to overcome. We have to figure out a way. Another big one is health issues, right? Things you weren't anticipating. You could have a heart issue. You could have some sort of blood clot. You could have something happen to one of your family members or kids, or there could be a car wreck or car trouble. There's all different types of different issues, health there. And then moving to the next one, external responsibilities is an external obstacle. We talk about different prior commitments, family obligations. It could be funerals, that you're going to attend from a family member that you weren't necessarily planning, or that kind of happened. But these
family members asking you to do things because you no longer have a job. So because you don't have a job and you're flexible, they come to you to do all the things that can be done on flexible people time.
Yeah, and this whatever takes your energy and your time is what we're looking for in the external obstacles.
Interesting, that health issue one. Most people never really anticipate that ever being an issue. They never actually factor it in. Never.
Well, honestly, when people join insurance, they don't factor any of these in. Any of them.
Yeah.
Nobody goes, dude, I'm so excited to start insurance. I have a fear of failure. I'm probably going to procrastinate my head off, and I'm probably going to be training for 2 months and not sell anything.
And I'm going to have a lot of negative self-talk while that's going on.
No.
And I can't get my license in the states that I thought I was going to be able to get them in because I didn't realize Florida had all these different regulations. And by the way, I didn't realize I was going to come down with this, this condition, health issue, right in the middle of everything and need to go into the hospital for 2 weeks.
And honest, like we deal with this stuff, don't we?
Everybody.
Oh,
everybody.
I didn't realize this. And another big one is financial constraints, right?
Oh, yeah.
Financial
that's
constraints
a huge
is
one.
massive for new agents.
Yeah.
When it comes to, I'm ready to change my life, Roger, change my life. I want to join. I want to, teach me how to do everything. By the way, I only have $1,000 to my name and I have to make rent next month and I can't afford any leads. Like we got some obstacles, don't we? Like
Yes.
we have to
I've
alter
seen
some of
this
our game
one.
plan.
I've seen this one wipe people out.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they turn and blame the opportunity and not their circumstances. So I've seen people, they will go to the edge of themselves trying to transition to this career, and they will actually leave their full-time job too early without counsel because they're so frustrated with it. And yet they don't have their contracts done. They don't have all their licensing done. They don't have their E&O. They haven't been trained. And they think for some reason that they're going to be able to start making money in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize that, first of all, I need carriers to write with. I need to understand how to work those. I need to know how to log in. I need to know how to get leads. Those have to have time to come in.
Yeah.
And I need cash flow advance. All of these things are a part of it. They're depleting their regular reserves. Now they're on their last reserves. Now they're ready finally.
Yeah.
And then when the leads don't come in, it's the lead's fault.
Yep. I say one of the biggest issues that you will find, there's a lot, and if we are very self-aware and honest with ourselves, there's a lot of internal obstacles that then affect external obstacles, and then you blame it on that. For example,
100%.
so many new people start, and yes, maybe they have a little nest egg saved up for the transition, but maybe they have some self-doubt. Maybe they have fear of failure. I promise you, they probably have all of them, right? Limiting beliefs. And then leads into lack of self-discipline when it comes to getting their stuff in, when it comes to procrastination on training and moving through and actually jumping into something instead of having all of those internal obstacles hold them back. All of a sudden you have this thing called time and bills and responsibilities that is creeping around the corner. So you may have had 5 or 6 weeks protected to really start this new adventure, but you wasted 4 of them just being in your head. And now you have to get started like super fast, jump into it, and the pressure and anxiety is going
so
through
high.
the roof. Your
Yeah.
money's going down. And now you say, I don't have the money. I don't have the funds or the money. So now it's an external factor.
Zach, sometimes it's the financial appetite or the risk-adverse personality of a spouse that comes in on this. Sometimes you have the money,
Yeah.
but because it's in this designated savings account that you could access,
Yep.
but because it's in the savings account, we're not supposed to touch that.
Yeah.
And so you're over here completely stressing out about how you're going to pay your bills. And if you have to dip into that, it causes all kinds of marital issues because now you're having a fight over the savings.
Right.
And now it's you may be a little more risk, tolerant, but you might have a spouse who's risk averse.
Yeah.
And the financial constraints as a result of that makes it crazy.
Absolutely.
And so now you have family issues to deal with as well as the financial issues.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to navigate the personal feelings of the people who are supposed to love you. And whether they accept this or whether they believe in you or doubt you, like now you're dealing with that on top of all of this.
Believe it or not, that's on my list, Roger. Right.
I didn't even get to it yet.
Yeah. And that's the unsupportive environment. And that unsupportive environment is one of the most incognito factors that affect more agents and you don't realize it.
And it doesn't come across as unsupportive.
And
It
it's
comes across
unintentional.
as like backhanded caring. We talked about it actually in the last, I think the last podcast.
It's so unintentional because we don't know sometimes that, like if we're a brand new agent struggling and we're going on, how was your day? Like, can you imagine moving down here and testing the market and like, Rose is like, how's it going? We're like, well, I didn't do all that good. Couldn't find any addresses. Had to get all PO boxes. The other hotel burned down, and you're her only view of the entire business
Is
just
what's wrong.
sounds negative self-talk. It's just
what's wrong. Yeah.
Like, where is the potential? But you may see it. You may know. Well, the truth is, I'm really not that good yet. I'm stumbling on my feet, and I still sold 2,000. Like, wow, I know I'm going to be able to sell 10,000 a week once I get rolling. But she doesn't know that. It could be the people that you have in your life. Again, back to the scenario where you may be breaking that chain in your family's generations. You could be that one that is the example for maybe your parents and your nieces and nephews, your younger brothers or sisters. You're paving the way of a whole new life and what's possible. But any feedback they give you is going to be based upon their limited beliefs. It's not their fault, but this is all they know. This is all they're capable of. So you have to be very careful of that unsupportive environment, because they may be trying so hard to protect that savings account that you mentioned and hold on to it like we need to keep this right here. But, another Zachism, that's a nickel holding up a dollar, right?
There you go.
Like sometimes
There's two in one episode, everybody.
you got to spend the nickel to
There's
get
two,
your
Adam.
dollar. It's crazy trying to save a nickel, but you give up a dollar doing it. It's
But you're also trying to navigate the relationship with someone who you love,
correct.
because they have a fear of loss
Correct.
or a fear of failure that's bigger than yours.
And that's exactly why this is an obstacle, right? Because it happens, and obstacles you don't really know they're coming, right? But then the last one is just a limited opportunity. Sometimes new agents all the time. To be fair, most of them don't do enough research. They don't understand the business, the models, or what the potential is. And sometimes they're in different markets or selling in different types of systems that are very limited. And it could be limited on training, right? It could be limited on support and mentorship. It could be limited on growth potential and building an agency. There's so many other limited opportunities that can also be an external obstacle that you may have to face.
Zach, let's wrap these up just a little bit here. I want to summarize some of these things for everybody. And I would say, so on the internal side, we got self-doubt, we got fear of failure, we got limiting beliefs. We have then the outflow of that, which is procrastination, and then the lack of self-discipline, and then this negative self-talk that we get into. On the external side, we have logistical challenges of all the things that we haven't thought through or processed. There's health challenges that can come into play. We have these external responsibilities, prior commitments, family obligations, financial responsibilities. We have financial constraints because of adequate amount of runway or financial freedom to essentially pursue a career without feeling like
Right.
you're going to throw your house off a cliff if you don't make some money this week, or throw your family off a cliff if you don't make some money this week. Having that runway, limited opportunities, like you said, about where you are, your market conditions, what's available to you, the support that's available to you, and then ultimately an unsupportive environment that does, it wouldn't even be good if we went to our spouse and said, hey, I'm in an unsupportive environment, because that's not going to be received very well.
No.
That's actually going to make it more unsupportive. But it's disguised as love and care, but it's basically a doubt in you, and because of a fear of failure that other people have. I would say that, to wrap up this episode, in order to move past some of those things, you're going to need to know how to identify these. And you need to take some time for some self-reflection. I'm just going to run through 3 or 4 quick steps for you of maybe how you can acknowledge some of these and look at them. You're going to need some time for some self-reflection. So you got to take some time to identify those fears, what those doubts are, what your limiting beliefs may be that are holding you back. Just make a note of them. And I would say even better to share them aloud with somebody that you care about, that can help you be accountable. And that's going to be in seeking feedback from trusted friends, mentors, or advisors, because they can help you with those things. If you're honest about the things that might be holding you back, and you have good feedback pouring into you, people who can maybe see things objectively that are not too close to your family situation, They're actually going to be able to give you positive
They
feedback.
know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. They know exactly what you're going through right now.
Yes.
That's extremely important.
Yes. And I would say thirdly, you need to do some goal setting for yourself and be very clear about that. A lot of people fail, Zach, when they get into this business. The goal setting piece is not one that they give a lot of consideration to because they haven't identified what they really want. And when they don't know what they really want, it's easy to quit on the thing that they really want.
And I would say everybody deals with these internal obstacles. And I promise you guys, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you probably could raise your hand on every single one of those, just as I and Roger would right now. But when it comes to being the only way you can overcome and get through those is to A, have self-awareness, what you're talking about, but B, have that strong why. And if you're not emotional by your why, you don't care enough.
Yep.
That is what's going to pull you through the fear of failure. It's the only thing that will pull you through.
Once you know what your goals are, then I would say the fourth thing that you need to do is you need to monitor your progress. And you got to chalk up the little wins. You got to celebrate the wins, right?
Yep.
I mean, we had a win that night when you sat on, what's her name? Your client, your first lady?
Sarah McHouston.
Yeah. That was a win.
Yeah.
You made a connection with the son who was a wrestling fan. It opened up the conversation. That was a win. That gave you confidence. Yet the very next morning, now I'm with someone else and you're out on your own and you're praying they're not home.
Yep.
So you had a big win the night before, victory, but you're out there the next day saying, I hope they're not home. But you were able to call on that success you had the night before. And I'm sure that played into the fact, I'm going to go knock on that door because I had a win last night.
Yep, 100%.
Right? So you got to monitor your progress. You got to pay attention to those recurring challenges and that hinder you towards your dreams. And then I would say, lastly, you need to stay informed. So you got to be aware of what's going on with other people, aware of what's going on with your journey, external factors that can impact your journey, such as industry trends, regulatory changes. You got to stay on top of things so that you are confidently walking into the challenges of each day.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys it's more than just insurance. It's life. People deal with challenges in their marriage. They deal with challenges with their kids. They deal with challenges with all of these different factors in life. I mean, heck, you think about COVID, right? We didn't do any telesales prior to that. Mm-mm. We're literally scrambling, building scripts and selling insurance over the phone 2 weeks later, and we've never done it, right?
Yes.
Like things happen. And one challenge I want you guys to be left with is think about any possible, and it's, I'm not trying to wish anything upon you guys, but think about some sort of obstacle that hasn't happened in your life yet, but something that could. And how would that affect your business? How would it affect you and your family? How would it affect your dreams and your vision of what you want to accomplish, AKA your why? And then if that was to happen, how would you react and how would you overcome it now? If you can get ahead of these things mentally now, it will change your whole world and how you think about your business and how you accomplish your dreams. But you'll be prepared and you'll have a calmness and a confidence moving into challenges, because I promise you, there will be obstacles, both internal and external, happening in your business.
A big word that we'll use to wrap this whole thing up is a word called resilience. Resilience. So when it comes to obstacles, the thing that you need to put, obstacles require resilience. Obstacles require resilience. And resilience is knowing there is going to be obstacles.
Yep.
And using those obstacles as opportunity for learning and growth and being able to visualize your success despite the obstacle and pushing through it, knowing that success is on the other side of overcoming the obstacle. Because the more you push through the thing that you fear the most and you have success on the other side, you take away its power. When you push through the thing that you fear the most, you take away its power.
Yep.
And when the power is gone, you are now in control of your destiny and you can actually realize your dreams. And you will not be one of the 92% that dies with their dreams in them. You certainly won't be one of the 92% who quits and fails life insurance. Final thoughts?
That's it. That's the final thoughts right there. This is powerful. I want you guys to listen to this as many times as you need to, but more importantly, you probably know somebody else right now that is dealing with an obstacle, maybe in their life of insurance or maybe in their home life. And this may help them. We please ask that you like, subscribe, share, leave comments. If you deal with any of these obstacles, leave us some feedback and say, hey, man, this is what I'm dealing with. This is how I overcame it. Or, hey, is there anything you guys can recommend or help us with? That's what we're here for. We want to provide content, coaching, and courses to really help benefit your all's life. So my final comments is this is real life. This is real.
This is real. So, obstacles require resilience. Remember that. That's the takeaway from today. We'll see you on the next episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast.